Hearing none, please vote your machines. Great. Thank y'all. Madam Clerk, 4C.
Budget Amendment Ordinance Number 2018-2019-03, amending the ordinance levying certain taxes, appropriating the funds necessary to defray the expenses and liabilities of the City of New Iberia for the year 2018-2019, to amend the budget to approve the appropriations to Fund 215-Public Safety Tax Fund and Fund 210-Sales Tax Fund.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Councilwoman Guidry. Do I have a second?
Second.
Councilman Swear. Do we have any discussion?
Mayor, can you just tell us a little about it?
Yeah, Kevin, what's this one?
All we're doing is remove,
Oh, and earning some money.
that's the one, we are moving the fund from 210 to 215. What is happening during the recent audit, the auditors have brought it to our attention that the public safety funds and the revenues we receive need to be accounted separately and need to be accounted in a separate fund. 210 is the general sales tax fund. 215 is a new fund that I created to monitor and track the revenue expenses associated with the public safety tax that we passed last year.
All the police department. But I knew you'd do a better job than I did. Thank you, Kevin. Any further discussion? Hearing none? Let it rip. I mean, vote your machine. Thank you. 4D.
Budget Amendment Ordinance Number 2018-2019-04, amending the ordinance levying certain taxes, appropriating the funds necessary to defray the expenses and liabilities of the City of New Iberia for the year 2018-2019, to amend the budget to reflect the K-9 Narcotics Unit funds from Louisiana Commission on Law Enforcement, and to reflect the funds received due to the sale of forfeited funds.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion, Councilman Lewis. Second, Councilwoman Ledbetter. Do we have any discussion? This is our canine dog. No discussion? Please vote your machines. And we received the grant, and we're getting a second canine. Thank you. So that'll give us 2 canines, which is what we kind of always wanted. It's happened a little sooner than we thought, so we won't wear out that one dog. Madam Clerk, 4E.
Budget Amendment Ordinance Number 2018-2019-05, amending the ordinance levying certain taxes, appropriating the funds necessary to defray the expenses and liabilities of the City of New Iberia for the year 2018-2019, to amend the budget to appropriate the allocation of funds to the New Iberia City Marshal's Office.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
So moved by Councilman Swear and Councilman Broussard seconded. This item, there are some cash flow issues with the Marshal's Office, and we are putting $10,000 into that account while we have to keep the Marshal's Office going. As you know, we're in transition. Mr. Vic passed. We have an interim Marshal, so it's going to take a little while, but we have to have a Marshal's Office, and our courts have to function. Jeff, you have anything to add to that?
No, they're going to hear more. You guys are going to hear more about this because we're going to talk to our auditor and the legislative auditor about kind of restructuring how funds are handled in the city court and the city marshal's office. But that's part of an ongoing discussion. But tonight, I think we're just putting money in to tide them over a couple of months.
Any discussion? Yes, ma'am.
I just have a comment and maybe one question.
Sure.
So we do contribute some to the budget of the city court and marshal's office, correct?
We do. We pay the salary of the marshal and a couple of the small expenses, and in the court system, we pay a portion of the salary of the judge and a portion of some expenses. And we're also responsible to house them in this building.
Okay. And another question I had was basically, they are audited separately, correct?
Yeah, that's why you don't see, I'm not a bookkeeper, I'll explain it the best I can. The court has its own budget. We have a portion of it, so we have a small amount of it in our budget, but that's why we don't see a lot of the court's budget, because they have their own budget. They also have their own auditors. The marshal, you see, when you look at salaries, you see the right now it's labeled as Mr. Vic, but you see the marshal's salary and you see some expenses, but you don't see everything because they have their own budget, you know.
And the last, thing I want to ask was, they are, who are who's their auditors, to each respectively? So for city court and then, for the marshal's office.
It's not our ordering we are ordered, y'all know Mr. Calder comes and gives us with Calder mixing champagne and whatever, how many names. That's our auditor. That is not their auditor. Their auditor is Mr. Templeton would be considered, Mr. Perry Templeton. He's a private CPA.
He's their CPA.
He's their CPA.
I think, if I can speak, I
Sure.
think their budget's small enough so they don't have to do a formal audit.
Okay,
But he handles the books for them, so we don't.
okay, that's it, thank you.
Sure. Anything further? Yes, Nana.
But they do file an audit every year with the legislative auditor's
Yes.
website,
Yes.
which is available for publication. I've seen them.
They file something, I'm not sure
Yes,
it's an
they
audit.
do.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they do.
It's a
they do.
sworn statement of some kind, yeah.
Yes. Every government agency does.
Yes.
And remember, those are elected officials, so they run parts of their own budgets because they are elected. They are not, you know, they're separate from us. Anything else? Please vote your machines. Thank you all very much. Madam Clerk, item 5.
Public hearing on introduction of budget amendment ordinance number 2018-2019-018 to amend the budget for receipt of the Red Dot History Tour and Main Street Program grants.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
No, yeah, okay.
We have a motion by Councilwoman Guidry and a second by Councilman Swear, and that's to open the public hearing.
Yep.
Do we have any public comment on the Red Dot Tour? Hearing none, I need a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Thank you, Councilwoman Guidry. Do I have a second?
Second.
Councilman Swear. That's it. We don't vote on that.
Next one.
That's it. Item 6.
Ordinance and adoption of amended budget amendment number 218-2019-01 to amend the budget for receipt of the Red Dot History Tour and Main Street Program grant.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Councilwoman Ledbetter. Do I have a second?
Second.
Councilwoman Guidry. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, please vote your machines. Thank you all very much. Item 7.
Resolutions. Resolution approving the application for grant funds for the New Iberia Downtown Historic District Trail from the FHWA Recreational Trails Program for Louisiana as established by CFDA 20.219.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion, Councilwoman Guidry. Do I have a second? Do I have a second? Councilman Swear. I have Jane and Paul here. Thank you. And they'll discuss it with us. Evening, y'all.
Jay's going to give you a handout, kind of helps to describe what's going on with this application. Basically, this is a funding agent that the city of New Iberia has taken advantage of in the past. The Church Alley project was, one of the projects was a recipient. The kayak launch is another recipient. Soon we should hear some news about that. And the third is this application. Michael Domingue is the administrator for the Recreational Trails Program for the state of Louisiana. Actually, Mike will be here on Thursday with Jane and myself visiting and having for the groundbreaking for the Bayou Church Museum. So it's an excellent opportunity to get Michael down to New Iberia to kind of explain to him what's going on. But as you all know, the city of New Iberia received the national designation for the downtown commercial district. This map illustrates, it's the map that shows the Evangeline Theater. It kind of illustrates, the last panel is going to go up in Church Alley. And it's for, I think Dan Dahl talked about this last time, is to help visitors understand a self-guided tour of the downtown area and those points of interest, which would allow this application to put in dollars for a wayfinding system, which would identify public parking, which identify attractions and special historic elements downtown. Also have more of these panels that you're looking at with the Evangeline Theater, more of these panels located throughout certain locations within that downtown area. And then the trail length is 1.6 miles. It also would give us an opportunity to do some work on the boardwalk, which is kind of getting up in age. I think it's nearing the 20-year mark, and so it definitely needs some replacement work to be done. And so Michael Domingue agreed that as part of this grant application, the boardwalk could be replaced to a ground level, sort of a slab on grade walkway. And it's just coincidentally that a lot of things are going to be happening within this 2 or 3 block area. The George Rodriguez Park, the Bayou Teche Museum expansion, the City Slips development behind the George Rodriguez Park. So all this is kind of interconnected to the trails. Go ahead.
Canoe and kayak dock as well.
Yeah, exactly. So just sort of analyzing some of the elements that are there, we put together the proposal. We're in the process of completing the grant application. So we're trying to identify, sort of the needs for the project and the benefits for the community when this project is completed. So I think most importantly, if you're a visitor and you're coming downtown and it's a weekend and there's no tour guide to follow you around, we already have these National Register brochures that are available, which you can pick up, and you can actually utilize that brochure with this map, which is wonderful. So the input that we've received along the boardwalk between myself, Bert Sestier, Edward Landry, and now Mickey Baylot, who purchased the Joe Sorce's building, where the shipping place is all very positive. I think they would like the idea of restoring the boardwalk system. It's a beautiful area to view. It gets you right next to the water. You can see a lot of natural vegetation, animals, birds, all those kinds of things. It also it is a trail, so it's important to have a trailhead and a trail. So on this map, we're proposing several trailheads. One is at the kayak launch, one is at the Shadows, one is at the pocket park, at the Church Alley Pocket Park. It's a trailhead for the bike path, which was the reason it got funded. And then there's other trailheads we're thinking about establishing at Boulogne Plaza. So it's just the opportunity for visitors to come and certainly enjoy the downtown area. Jane, you want to add some things to that?
No, we're working on all of these grants together, and it just so happens that they all fit into a nice package. Originally it wasn't planned that way, but it just happened, and we're so fortunate to have these funding sources that recognize, good projects, and that we're going to use the money that they share with us to the best projects that they can possibly be.
One other thing is the Department of Transportation is in the process of upgrading crosswalks down Main Street. I think they're going to be working on one near Church Alley. So for visitors who need to kind of meander and navigate downtown, that's a really important thing. So we're going to hopefully partner with them, the city will, to be able to continue that process, to better improve the crosswalk system, make it safer, and handicap accessible. I mean, somebody that's in a wheelchair, you heard discussion about that already. Is any visitor that may be in a wheelchair that they can safely travel this trail. So Michael Domingue's extremely excited about the idea of what we're talking about doing. So we think we have a good chance. He actually recommended that we expand the trail length and increase the values requested of dollars. So we said,
We're happy to do that.
not a problem. So anyway, it seems like it's a really good application. Are there any questions?
Yeah, we'll go,
I think, Freddie, 20 years ago, me and you were part of that boardwalk.
Yeah,
You had to get an easement through those property owners.
we worked on that.
And I remember at one time, also, we were trying to maybe, since it was in bad shape, to do away with the boardwalk.
Yep.
And because of safety reasons, and then we had a 20-year commitment with the owners.
Yep.
And now in the past
So I
20
went and
years.
patched it. Yeah.
You went and patched it, sure did.
It's almost at that point, yeah.
And,
Yeah, it's almost there.
So now we're talking about putting probably a lot nicer infrastructure on a level where more people can use it.
Bulkhead and
everything.
concrete.
Now, does that, instead of having a agreement with the owners, are we gonna be owning the property?
No, you have to continue that servitude agreement, and it must be for
25 to
25
30 years.
25 to 30 years.
So we can put a new one into
Yes.
place?
Yes.
We're gonna
Yes.
put, yeah.
No, new
it's-
agreement?
Yes, oh,
Yes.
definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
okay.
the, and the only, I'm sorry, Dan.
No, go
The
ahead.
only kind that Michael Domang will approve is a ground level
Yeah.
sidewalk system.
Yeah.
He's not gonna approve anything that's elevated.
You know?
He's, because of the maintenance issue. He
Mm-hmm. No,
wants to
we
make
we
sure
learned our
it's
lesson.
safe.
It's gonna be a
Yeah.
bulkhead that we don't have to fool with. We can maintain that bayou edge, and it's gonna be concrete, because I'm too old to go patch it.
We were happy with that. though.
Yeah, oh,
But second thing, you talk about the cross walks, across Main Street. And that I live not too far from the one on Lewis Street. Nobody uses those, so maybe the state can take those and move them.
No, 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 no. No, we've got more trails coming, and we
Okay.
will utilize
But,
that. But we do have a crosswalk coming.
Yeah, but I think we talked about that, and this is so neat. I was telling Freddie while you were talking, this is pretty cool, because how many people that come here doesn't know where to go? And something so simple as this is just
We
amazing.
had one just last week.
Yeah, Jane has a
Great
story
job.
to share. She was at a
Yeah,
conference.
I attended a conference in Franklin last week, and one of the presenters actually visited New Iberia on his way to Franklin for the first time. And during the presentation, I'm sitting there listening to him, and he said, I visited New Iberia, and it's a beautiful place to visit, but there are no wayfinding signs. And he said it twice, and so I couldn't wait till after he finished his presentation to let him know that, yeah,
So
we're working on
he
it.
was from Des Moines, Iowa.
Yes.
So he was from out of state. So he took note of that, so it's important.
Okay, just go around. Just
What really stands out to me the most is on the picture, you have the marquee sign. And I actually asked the mayor the other day, believe it or not, my family, great-grandfather had a paint store out in the West End years ago, and it played a big part in furbishing that marquee sign. And I mentioned to the mayor the other day, I think it would be really cool if it was lit up again. He said, hopefully that plan is,
Yeah,
hopefully that plan is somewhere in place with this. I hope.
we're working on it.
I mean, that would be, I think that would be a really great
It was
feature.
damaged by a truck recently, so we got some insurance money coming to
Awesome.
Number one. Number two, we have some people, we'll present that later, but we have people in the community who are stepping up to donate, and I think you're gonna see that it's gonna be back to like it needs to be.
I would love to see that. That would be great. Thank you.
Good. Just go around the table. Sure.
The bike trail, I'm excited about, because I'd like to do something with this bike trail. So, and I've been talking with the mayor about that. Now, is it gonna be like a real bike trail? You know, you go into bigger cities and you got that separate lane with the bike trails, or we just working what we got within the road? What
Well,
we doing?
it's already existing.
Right.
It's in place, 3.2 miles.
Right.
And it's a share the road.
Okay, share the road type bike
yes.
trail, gotcha, okay. Well, I'm excited about the bike trail. Thank you.
I'm also excited about this, putting New Iberia on the map besides Tabasco pepper. You know, everybody knows Tabasco, wherever you go, you know, and hopefully, you know, some of the other historical sites, in our city will be known citywide, statewide, I mean, you know, everywhere, nationwide, after this is done.
Thank
I'm
you.
hopeful.
Going around the table, Mr. D, got 2 cents?
Are they gonna expand it to where the motels and hotels of New Iberia are?
That's our
To go
plan.
down Highway 14 again, make it safe, 'cause that's where they're gonna start. A lot of people come from out of town, they stay in our hotels and motels, and they all over there by the I-49 entrance on Center Street and everything, so are we expanding that way someday?
So you know what's really a good thing that's happening right now is that the Visitors Center has identified important people like Buck Johnson and James Lee Burke and Church Alley, and just those kinds of signs are pretty constant and they look the same. Kathy Indus has done the trilateral signs, which are in most of the buildings downtown. And then the Emma Wakefield sign that was recently put up near Boulogne Plaza. All excellent examples of people who want to come and read about the history. And it's self-guided, so you don't have to have a visitor's guide with them. So the idea is to keep people and let them stay longer within the community, to spend more dollars, make it a day activity rather than just a couple of hours. And between what, I know you mentioned Tabasco, but J.D. Regard invested a lot of money down there on Cane River. So to try to grab the people in the shadows and just hold them here longer means they'll spend more money, like you were talking about, David. So it's a win-win, so.
We'll be expanding something to the hotels
Yeah,
and
we're looking at a
motels.
different funding source
If
for
you don't
that
mind.
project, but,
I can tell you about that in a
The
second, or
mayor
I'm gonna
can-
wait till you
the
sidewalk
mayor can
discussion.
share with you.
It's coming.
Wait for the sidewalk.
Okay, it's coming. Marlo, got anything?
Well, I'm always thinking about the African American experience in Iberia Parish, in New Iberia, and where we fit in. And Mr. Allen talked about Dr. Wakefield and Bunk Johnson. Mr. Mike, who left, he spoke about, he always would speak about Felicity and all of those people that she saved the community in whatever year it was. And I'm very excited about the things that are taking place in our community, in our town. I think of New Iberia as a quaint bed and breakfast town, the biggest little town in the world, but the smallest little city. And that's how I think about New Iberia. I'm proud to be a resident here, but I'm always, and it's just because of the way I was raised and what I was raised around, I'm always focused on where does the African American community fit in the master plan of New Iberia, and how do we draw these people to this community to spend money, to be a part of, to employ their skills and talents in the community, thus becoming a more integrated community that we can be proud of. Because let me tell you, when I went to New Orleans a few years ago and I saw the George Rodriguez exhibit, the blue dog, right? The blue dog. I was about to say blue cat. I'm sorry, because they had some cats with the dog painted on it, and a cow with the dog painted on it. But I'm also, proud to be able to say, as Ms. Ledbetter said about Tabasco, which used to have New Iberia on it, now it got Avery Island, so you have to explain to them that Avery Island is right around the corner from New Iberia, or what have you. So I'm always proud to say that I'm from New Iberia when I'm out of state, out of town, and kind of talk about some of the things that we have here. And now that we have these plaques with Dr. Emma Wakefield and of course Bunk Johnson, and we celebrate Felicity in the way that we can.
She actually has a marker right down here.
Felicity
marker.
does?
She does, right here.
Good, okay, well, we have those markers here, and that's awesome, and I just want to see more of that. I understand this town was built on the backs of many families, and I just want them all to be recognized and celebrated and marketed.
Well, I think that's one other thing we'll be talking about in the future is the master plan with the branding of the downtown area and New Iberia. That's a whole wonderful element coming up soon for y'all to have discussion on. So, I mean, I know Freddie was talking about that.
The reality is, it was a time where African Americans couldn't be caught on Main Street. But we're talking years ago. And now, we can go anywhere we want. So I always tell people, shop New Iberia, shop Main Street, helping integrating our community by shopping and visiting some of the historic places that we have here.
we have plans to tie a bicycle path on Hopkins Street into the existing bicycle path. So bike lanes are planned and other things as well.
Good. Diamond.
Well, I'm excited about the kayak dock. I think everyone knows that. I made some calls last week, and all I can say is I'm gonna come out hot at the Dragon Boat races. I think that's my time. So get ready, because I'm gonna be calling you. Everybody, I'm gonna be calling. So I'm excited. That's kind of where my little niche is. I just need a friend with a truck so I can get my kayak to the bayou. That's my only problem. But it'll all be good. But that's what I'm excited about. I'm excited about the kids having something to do in the summer. I went to the day camp at the city park for 7, 8 years growing up, and it was just, we canoed, we did archery, we did soccer. it saddens me that we don't have that anymore. But anyway, so I'm just looking forward for us to have something for those kids to do during the summer that's safe and enjoyable, burn up half a day and be physical for them.
Cool, thank you. All right, it's my turn. I'll be brief. When you look at the second, well, first I'm gonna tell you about the first page, okay? I bought that postcard on eBay. It's a 1928, 1930 postcard for $12, okay? And Paul and David did a wonderful job of incorporating it into this, and you're gonna see that kind of as be in many areas to show the trailhead and to show this map. But I think the big one's gonna look really awesome, blown up in Church Alley. But that's the first thing, and I can't thank Paul, David, Jane. I mean, you don't know the hours that we all put in on all of these ideas and concepts. You don't see the ones that flop. You don't see the ones that we work on and say, well, maybe later, or that we just can't afford yet. So the time that, that group is putting in is really to be commended. The second part, just real quick, that is the beginnings of our downtown master plan. That's the beginnings of it, okay? That's what I keep telling you, that I want to develop one for the commercial area of Admiral Center Street. I want to develop one for the West End. This is the kind of thing that I'll be coming back to say, Council, if you agree, I need $5,000 or I need $10,000, and this is where we're heading next. And the point of all of this is, just like we've tied in these projects, some by happenstance, but some by planning and working on this. The way we've tied in this little downtown area is what we can do in each area of our city. And by branding it, by coming with markers that I want you to be driving down Admiral and know you know Iberia. I want a wayfinding sign that shows the city logo. You don't have that except in the downtown. What we need is when you're heading down Hopkins Street to know you in New Iberia and to know these, facilities are so far away, but to brand it New Iberia. Same thing on Admiral, same thing on Center Street, same thing on Jefferson Terrace. What we're heading toward is to finally pull our town together and to give us those marketing tools that we need. This is the beginning, and what these things are doing, that's how we're getting grants. People keep asking, how are y'all doing this? We're making a small success, we're tying it with a concept, then we get another success, then we have 2 or 3 things to tie together, and the state sees we are responsibly spending the money. You see, because, I can't do it without y'all. They can't either. You are matching dollars constantly for grants. Funny story real quick, somebody on Fulton Street put a sign up that said, Mayor DeCourt, why don't you look for grants to fix Fulton Street, not just Main Street? And they nailed it on the telephone pole. We can't have that on telephone poles, by the way. So what I did was make my own sign, nail it on the telephone pole that said, I don't just look for grants, I'm looking for grants everywhere. But next time I call my office, I put my phone number and I put, thank you, Freddie. I let it stay up for 2 days, and then I would take it down because we're really not supposed to do that, okay? But my point is, whatever it takes, wherever it takes to get it done, it's these kind of things that when I come to y'all and say, hey, I need a little money to do this, or we could all head this way, one, I can't thank y'all enough. I wanted to applaud Paul, Jane, and David for their efforts, and I want to applaud you for believing in what we're doing, because we could not do any of these things and market this town the way we are or beginning to, and head in the direction that each one of you want to head without you buying in, without the faith that, we're going to be responsible and do this the right way. So I can't thank you enough for that, and I think we beat it to death. Anything else? Done.
I just forgot to say thank you. Thank you all for the work.
Yes, thank you.
It's been a pleasure.
All right. Do we have to vote on this resolution?
Yep.
Yes, we do. So no further discussion. Please vote your machines. Thank you all very much. Madam Clerk, item 8.
Appointment to the Planning and Zoning Commission. Resolution of appointment by the mayor and upon the approval of the city council, the applicant Michael L. Berry to fill the vacant seat of Lloyd Verrett on the Planning and Zoning Commission. The new member will serve a 7-year term.
Do I have a motion? Motion by Councilwoman Lopez, second by the Mayor Pro Tem Dahl. We have any discussion? Yes, sir. Dan.
Well, welcome, Mr. Barry.
Certainly.
Every time you turn around, he's involved in this community.
You're
So
right.
between his practicing and our pal, I guess he can make these meetings. But one thing I do want to say is thank Mr. Lloyd Verrett. He
Did a great job.
He did a great job, and if you ever went to these meetings, applaud the whole board, because it's really tough sometimes. And Lloyd, he's always on the board helping out.
Don't tell him that.
No, he's good. When he was an airline pilot.
Yeah,
Jeez.
I think he can hang.
Yeah, I think it's. Retire. Well, so I think you can handle it. But we want to thank you because you do so much, not only just for the city, but the whole community. Appreciate it. Welcome aboard.
Natalie?
Yes. Y'all know I always brag when it's my people.
Oh, no.
Mr. Derry is a resident of District 1. He is extremely kind and concerned at the same time, but also very respectful. I remember everything he's ever called me about, and he has some good ideas. He really, he cares, and he has some good ideas. And I also want to thank him. I appreciate his efforts and always watching his neighborhood and letting me know when those drains need to be vacuumed. And also Mr. Lloyd Barrett. He is also from my district and used to be my neighbor. And we started the District 1 Neighborhood Watch Group together. And he was actually going to run for District 1. And then I said I was going to, and I didn't know he was. And then he said, well, you do that. I'll go do this other thing. So that's kind of what we did. And he has been great. And I have no doubt that he is still going to stay in the loop. And he is an asset to not only this community, but my district and my personal neighborhood, that he always watches out for everything and keeps everyone informed. So, as usual, I'm just very proud of the people that live in my district and how they always step up.
Great. Any other comments? Oh, we got a few more.
I have
Dustin?
much respect for the ones that do serve on these boards and commissions because they're volunteer positions. They don't need to be doing these things and coming to those meetings and taking the heat sometimes. I mean, we've seen one not long ago where it was a very lengthy one and it went a long ways, but at the end of the day, it worked out for the best. And I appreciate him coming forward and putting his name up to do this. Like I said, it takes a lot. And being that it's a volunteer position, I have plenty of respect for those ladies and gentlemen that do that. So, thank you.
Thank you. Sure. Done? Anybody else?
Yeah, I want to.
Yes, sir.
I want to thank Mr. Verrett for his service. I got an opportunity to serve with him on the Parks and Recreation Board, and really got to know him. He's a nice guy. I know he's going to still be around, working in the community. And Mr. Berry, man, welcome. I just got one question. How did you keep that big old thing in the air so long, so many years?
It's a secret.
No, I admire airplane pilots because, I mean, responsibility. So this is another responsibility. Thank you. Welcome and thank you for serving our city.
Great. No further comments. Please vote. Oh,
have a
Deidre? Yes, ma'am. Oh, I saw your hand going up. Yes, ma'am.
I also want to say welcome to your new position, and I do tell Mr. Verrett thank you for all his service that he gave. Also with the Neighborhood Watch, he has supported me with my Neighborhood Watch also, and I know he'll continue to do that and be real active in our community.
Mr. Lloyd, you have my thanks, and Mr. Berry, thank you for being involved. If there's no other discussion, please vote your machines. Thank you. Madam Clerk, item 9.
Financial reports presentation by Kevin Sarang, City Treasurer, of the November 1st, 2018 through December 31st, 2018 budget to actual comparisons.
Hello, everyone. I'll make it as quick as possible.
Thank you.
Kevin, you so popular all the way around.
All right, so if y'all are okay, we're going to continue what we've done in the past, and we'll just talk about it in total. And if you have questions, just feel free to ask. So overall, we are at the end of December, we were 2 months into the budget, so it should be 16.7% of the budget if we were on track. The first fund will be the general fund. We were budgeted 19,300 or 19.4 million for the year. We are currently at 3.5, so we're at 17.9% of revenue, which is ahead. Part of that is due to us receiving all of the ad valorem tax, the property tax, all in 1 month. Expenditures, we were budgeted at 19.4 million. We're currently at 2.9 million. which brings us to 14.72% of our expenses, which is good. We're actually, right now, we're up past where we should be on revenue and below where we should be on expenses. Next group is Park and Recreation. Revenue was budgeted at 1.2 million. We're at 700,000, which is 57.87% of the revenue. That is due to, same as last month, property taxes recorded all in 1 month. Expenses, 1.4 million, year-to-date, 173. So they're actually below the budgeted amount on expenses. They're at 12.76. Public Works revenue, 2.8. Year-to-date, 1.1 million. They're 38.21, which is due to property tax being recorded all at once. Expenditures of 2.8, year-to-date 400,000, so they are at 14.43 of their expenses, which is good. Sales tax budgeted of 11.2 million, year-to-date 1.8, so we're at 16.5%, which is good. Expenditures, or the transfers out, 11.6 million, year-to-date we're at 1.9, so we're at 16.57. You compare the two, we're pretty much right on line with what we're bringing in and what's going out, being transferred. Garbage fund, budgeted 4.8 million, year-to-date 788,000, at 16.5, so we're on target. Expenses of 4.8, year-to-date 800,000, which is where we should be, 16.62. Section 8 vouchers, 1.3 million in revenue, year-to-date 233,000, bringing us to 17.8%, which is good. Expenditures of 1.3 million, year-to-date 226 actually, which brings us to 16.8% of expenses, which is good. Wastewater fund, budgeted at 5.2, year-to-date 700 or 800,000, which brings us to 15%. Expenses, 4.3 million, year-to-date 615,000, which is 14.3, which is below expectations for now. And you have any questions?
Thank you, Kevin.
You're welcome.
All right, now we move on to my favorite items for discussion. 10A.
Discussion by Mr. David Broussard and requesting the Department of Transportation and Development to install sidewalks from Providence Street to Hopkins Street for the safety of citizens.
Mr. Broussard.
My interview cited in the January 29th newspaper reflects my concern for little or no progress towards an ever-increasing need for sidewalks along Ameldale from Providence to Hopkins Streets, and a sidewalk from Ameldale along LA Highway 14 to Sucrose Drive, with a pedestrian crosswalk at Queen City Drive. Pedestrian safety in that area is also my concern. I contacted Mr. Oliver, head man with the state of LA DOTD in Lafayette. He explained the rules for new and existing road projects. For new roads, the state has money allocated for sidewalks as required by the specifications. For existing roads, the only option available to us is the Acadian Planning Commission, which the city of New Iberia retains to lobby projects at the state level. The three projects are, number one, safe routes to public places. Number two, transportation alternatives. Number three, Acadian Metropolitan Planning Commission, which is our MPOs. A sidewalk from Providence to Hopkins Street and a sidewalk from Ameldale to the Sucrose Drive are necessary to accommodate the growth of New Iberia. As growth increases, both vehicle and pedestrian traffic also increases. New Iberia needs to be connected with this area of the city, not separate together. With respect to the Pepperplex site, which is situated in New Iberia on LA Highway 14, just blocks from the future I-49 highway, in which the entire exchange intersection of future I-49 and LA 14 is within the New Iberia city limits. That exchange also is the gateway entrance to the city from the future I-49. There are hundreds of crepe myrtle trees have been planted. New Iberia is a crepe myrtle city. Arriving from the east on future I-49, turning to LA 14, also has many crepe myrtle trees along the road, which serves as a signature entrance to New Iberia. This grand entrance to New Iberia from the 4-lane highway LA 14 is where the city's greatest industrial growth started about 14 years ago. New Iberia has been expanding in this direction for some time, and future expansions are being planned. And there is an ever-increasing amount of vehicle traffic there. Today, that area has a major complex area, the Pepperplex, the Spanish Town, New Iberia Tourist Center, and also have the greatest number of hotels and motels compared to any other parts of the city. And they are situated on both sides of LA 14. LA 14 in this area have traffic lights for vehicles, which was designed with modern vehicle turning lanes and have highway crossing provisions. And industrial growth, as industrial growth increases in this area, it is expected that both vehicle and pedestrian traffic will also increase. We must be proactive and plan for the future, which is now. That includes installation of sidewalks and a modern pedestrian highway crossing signal system at Queen City Drive for people who walk in this area. Infrastructure and safe routes to public places in the Pepperplex area is paramount. The Acadian Planning Commission is our voice of the New Iberia City Council at the state level. We should become relentless to get grants with support from the state and federal government to get this done. And I want to thank everybody for this. We need grants. If the state won't do it, we need some other opportunity to get it done. And we don't mean the city do it, get monies from other places to get it done. So that's all I have to say about that.
Okay.
And if anybody else in the council wants to speak up a little bit,
Right.
we appreciate it.
I'll run the meeting, Mr. B.
Appreciate it.
Okay. First thing, remember this, okay? We got a TIF district now, okay? The Pepperplex and the area that you're talking about is in our TIF district. We have met with the MPO, and you're 100% correct. Sidewalks and bikeways do qualify for MPO funding. We have met with them. We have asked them to consider this area. What my plan is, and thank you for bringing this forward, is to take the TIF dollars, and as we have begun to collect TIF dollars, to use as our match. So basically, we have already told MPO, we got our match, where's our sidewalk money, okay? That is something that is coming, all right? We have some other projects in addition to that. As you know, we are looking at doing the frontage road. That's a project that we're involved with MPO. Y'all graciously have given the $250,000, 50 for the planning, 200 for our match. So that's a project that's going. We're looking at some future overlay projects of Bank Avenue and Iberia Street that they suggested. So we're looking at that. We have some additional bike trails because they love bikeways. And remember, with the stuff we're doing with all these bike trails, when they overlay Hopkins Street, they're going to give us a bike trail. They are talking about doing something on North Lewis, and we would end up with a bike trail there, and all that will connect. I'm 100% with you that I'd love to run up Center Street as well to connect all of that area. So you bring in some good points, but I do think that some of this, is within our grasp. Let the TIF dollars begin to build up. That's going to help us. We know that 1,750 kids use the Pepperplex, about half from the city and half from the parish. So you're 100% right on this, Mr. B, but I really believe, talking to Bill Oliver, I've had some good conversations with him. He's on our side. Talking to the ladies and gentlemen that work at MPO, I think we're heading in that direction. But I appreciate you bringing it up. It's a good discussion. We all heard 4 or 5 citizens come up, so, your team came through. I think that's a good thing. I think that that's going to, go a long way toward getting this done. So I can't thank you enough.
It's just, I've been fighting this since 2005. We're 4 people. You on board, Mr. Dahl, you and me. Somewhere in 2005 or 6, 4 people on 2 separate occasions got run over crossing the Best Western Hotel. Got killed crossing. That's big. Even though it never happened since, it's going to happen again if we don't watch it. So thank y'all for helping me push this forward. It's in my district. I have a major concern.
Cool. Any other comments?
Yeah.
Dan?
Mr. Bruce was right. We've been here a long time and we fought for this. And I remember when Ruth Fontenot's administration was here, they were very aggressive incorporating that into the city. And we did a lot of work, a lot of effort, a lot of time and sweat to bring that into the city, to help the city. But since then, it's like nothing was ever given back to those people, dollars or like Mr. Bruce said. Now you got another aggressive mayor and administration that's going out there to get the grants and going out there to do it. I mean, honestly, it's this is our pot of gold, Highway 14. When we started Pepperplex, and the mayor might remember, it was in District 6, and we moved it out there, and that's been many years ago.
Oh, yeah.
And we, at that point, we were asking for sidewalks for people to go to the places to spend money.
Yep.
And not only about the safety, but he's right. And look, I'm gonna applaud Mr. Bruce, because when he's on a mission,
Oh, yeah.
it's like you, Freddie.
Hey, look.
He goes
I'll take
far,
all the help I can get.
and we need people like that to. But I'm with him 100%, and his sweating and everything he does. He does it to the heart. But he's right on this. We think it's not, but this is a big deal. And Freddie said, you ever go to the grand opening of softball or baseball? It's amazing how many people. And a lot of these people would go down and spend money. And I think now, with the monies we have and as being as aggressive as you are with these grants, I think something will happen, Bruce. I really believe
Well,
that.
it's been a long time.
And yeah, but I think your time's coming. I do
too.
I think you got administration here, and you got some commitment that it's going to happen.
Thank
And
you.
I appreciate all the help. you
Appreciate
gave
all the
in our work.
kind words.
Thank you.
Further discussion? Yes. Dustin?
B, I agree with you. Heck yes, we do need some sidewalks. And at the same time, but like y'all been talking, how many years have y'all been going back and forth with this? So that goes to show you government is somewhat slow.
Well, it's all timing, and you got to do it when you got the money.
Okay,
And if
so
you
now
hadn't helped
that-
me pass the TIF
like Mr.
district, I
Dahl
still
said,
wouldn't have
we
the money.
Now, Mr. Dahl said, look, we have the right tools in place. It's gonna get done. I'm pretty optimistic, like you are. Patience is a virtue. So let's keep doing what we're doing. Hopefully it's gonna get done under our watch. So, thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion? Great. We'll move on to the next item. Mr. B, it's you again. We have a TIF meeting.
It's about a repeat of the first one, but I'm gonna still cover it. Attention to pass city council resolutions that requires funding and assistance on Louisiana state government and or progressed by our Acadian Planning Commission, which we're asking them to come over. They lobby the new Iberia projects. I would like to propose that the mayor require them to attend our public meetings on a quarterly or semi-annual basis to present a progress report on those resolutions. And if I may, I submit that the city of New Iberia needs both state and federal financial assistance to improve some of the city infrastructure. I believe that the city should show an interest in both our state and federal government and request that they send representatives to make periodic reports to the New Iberia City Council when necessary. In the past, I was able to secure assistance not only from Louisiana state government, but also the federal government for financial assistance in improving certain important New Iberia infrastructure. Many of present city infrastructure could not have been accomplished without financial assistance from both state and federal level of government. All levels of our government have been involved in one way or another with assistance in improving some of New Iberia's infrastructure. As I've stated in the past, infrastructure in New Iberia promotes safety not only for its local citizens, but also for others from all parts of the country who drive through New Iberia. Our New Iberia representatives in the past have submitted resolutions for improving the city's infrastructure and continue to present resolutions. Resolutions submitted by the city to the state should be dealt with on a timely basis, not forgotten about. Finish with it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. B.
Please, we're just trying to keep our reports of those special
I will.
resolutions in order.
I'll tell you that we have fired off a ton of resolutions since I've been here, okay? I think that that's not working. We get some answers sometimes. They give us an answer, you know, DOT doesn't do sidewalks in town. So you can send them 10 letters, you're gonna get the same response, okay? So I have changed my tactic, all right? I've been getting on the phone, calling your buddy Mr. Shrewsbury, okay? I've talked to him 2 or 3 times. I'll give you an update on that, okay? He's scheduling a meeting with the city in April, all right? He's discussing and talking to the parish president as well and working out the right-of-ways for the railroad project. That's the holdup on it. Now, I can tell you, once the railroad gets their right-of-ways and they're ready to do the project, they're coming back and, you know, this is the compromise. This is where you pay your debt. They're coming back and saying, are you closing Caroline? Are you moving the arms and lights from Evangeline to Caroline? Or what are you doing? Last time they came and did the other arms and lights, they closed 2 crossings. They are not going to come back and do this $3 million project without closing a crossing. They're not going to do it. If we want to pay to keep that crossing open, it's hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. They're not interested in that. I've talked to them repeatedly. So the good part is you get, but it comes with a price. So Mr. Shrewsbury and I have been talking back and forth, talking on the phone, communicating, trying to show that, you know, when you just send letters to people making demands, they get bent out of shape. They get to where they're like, oh, another letter from Iberia. So I've changed my approach. I've been on the phone with Mr. Bill. Mr. Bill Oliver, you know, we're working together. He's talking about these MPO projects. He's helping with those. It's been a very positive discussion, you know. Well, now that we have those TIF dollars, we'll have some matches. I really feel that we're on the road to accomplish some of this. But, you know, I don't want to make demands of them. I want to make requests of them. And I want to begin to work with our legislative delegation even more. You know, my first 2 years were to fix our major problems. With your help, we have done that. Now I think we can spread our wings out a little bit, go to Baton Rouge, start networking. I have a meeting next week with Senator Mills, who's been instrumental in getting some of these grants for us. Sitting down with him, he's going to come on board on some new agendas, objectives that we have. So I think you'll see that my tactics have changed a little bit. I have a little breathing room, so now we're beginning to branch out, talk to these people, really flesh out NPO opportunities, really looking. Our taxes have come up slightly. We're not rich, but we have a little money, and by the grace of God and this council, you're funding matches. So I really think that we are beginning to pull the pieces together. And as long as we approach these people in a positive manner, and as long as we begin to communicate more with them and not make demands, because you got every other town trying to feed off the same pie, and it's a shrinking pie. The state has budget, you know, issues. But I think we're on the right track. You know, stay positive, and I appreciate all the effort and, you know, bringing this forward. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Any other discussion?
Larry Richard this afternoon mentioned that he's working on the sidewalks to Westgate. I think city and parish together. He mentioned this afternoon he'd be glad to come anytime. He's the vice president of Acadian.
Right. Those sidewalks are out of town.
Yeah.
But he said he's working a little bit together. He's the vice president of that Acadian Planning Commission.
Yes.
He said anytime we call, he'll be
good.
glad to come by and explain what they're working on.
Good. Any further discussion on this item? Hearing none, we'll move on to, thank you, Mr. B, 10C. Dan. Madam Clerk.
Discussion by Mr. Dan Dahl on the City of New Iberia's ordinance concerning political signs.
Okay, Mayor, first of all, I'm not here to talk or aim these comments at any political person running in town. This came up, we have a sign ordinance with the city of New Iberia that addresses a bunch of signs. If it's a personal sign, or if it's a sign for a business, or if it's a sign for construction, you got so many days you can leave it up, so many days you got to take it down when the job is done. We have a bunch of things that, and I think this is one ordinance we need to look at. But I had someone run over a yard sign the other day and it scratched their car, the little wire thing. So, you know, normally you have an election every 4 years. It looks like in New Iberia we have one about every year and a half.
Hey,
With the signs.
we love our politics.
And I have no, I mean, you know, we always want to compare to Youngsville. We want to be like Youngsville. They got an ordinance about signs, and I went to talk to them over there about it. I just think we need to get some kind of consistency of what we're going to do. I mean, right now we got an election in October, and a month ago we had signs out. And it's not the big signs I'm concerned about. For 9 or 10 months, if you have a wind, you have a lot of rain, you got the ground that's soft, and then a big storm comes through, the signs end up in the street, in the drainage, whatever. If it's not a problem, it's not a problem, but it's becoming a problem. And it's like, well, the most signs, maybe that's how you win an election, or maybe the most signs mean you have the most money. I don't know. I'm just thinking we need a way, if not to when the signs can be put out, at least when the signs can be picked up. If you lose an election, there's not many times these people go and pick up their signs. Now, if you win an election, you might go pick up your signs. But I just think it's something that we need to address. And, I have a company that I put a sign out when I do a job. And the way the ordinance reads, when I'm finished that job, I got to pick up the sign. It's just some reason the political part of signs kind of have whatever you can do, you can do. Now, right now, we got signs already on easements, on right-of-ways. Now, I think Jimmy has better things to do than go and pick up signs. I know he does. But who's going to do it? Well, no, we're going to get the police to do it? I mean, then the fine is what? Just don't do it again? Maybe put a fine where if you get caught, then what they going to say? Well, I didn't put the sign there, even though your name's there. Maybe you didn't. But if y'all don't think it's an eyesore, maybe I'm looking through some different glasses. And it's not about if you can afford to do it or not to do it. It's about keeping the city clean. Now, most of the ordinances I saw is like 90 days before election you can have it. Some of it have it when you have a when you qualify. But if we don't do anything else, we need to have at least an ordinance where you have to pick up your sign so many days after election. If we don't do that, I think we're not being responsible about keeping the city clean. Because in this October we got a bunch of things on the ballot, so you could be seeing even way more than what's happening right now. And if it's not a big deal, not a problem. I just thought I'd bring it up for discussion, because the lady who came to me about a scratch, it wasn't our fault, it wasn't the city's fault. But there's some responsibility we have to take, if at least it's on the properties or right-of-ways that the city has, if nothing else. So I just asked the mayor if we could put it up there for discussion. I know everybody's got ideas about it, and that's what it's about. It wasn't me trying to implement nothing tonight. It's about talking about a problem, if y'all think it's a problem or not. So, thank you, man.
Thank you, Dan. I'll go around. Natalie, you had your hand up first?
Yeah. Jimmy, can you come up?
Yeah. Jimmy, join the party.
Well, I have some questions because, I mean, I listened to everything you had to say, Mr. Doyle, but I heard some contradicting things. In the beginning, you said it's becoming a problem, and then you closed with, I mean, but if it's not a big deal, it's not a problem.
So y'all said.
Jimmy, have you received any complaints yet this year? Is it becoming a problem?
I've received a few.
Yes, okay. And the complaints are neutral ground or just out in general?
Mostly in neutral ground.
Neutral ground. Okay. Now, I'm gonna just say what my opinion is because I had 2 elections.
You have the floor.
Whatever. I feel like in the political world and in the arena of everyone I've talked to over the past 6 years, Everyone thinks you ought to be that you can start that you should start campaigning. I didn't decide to campaign on my first election until like a month before qualifying. I jumped in out of the blue. But there were people who had been planning for 5 years to run for my seat and had started putting signs out a year before. I believe a year in advance. That's just me. If people want to put your sign in their yard and let the public know who they want to vote for, like, that's their business, that's their yard. I feel like people who go have their kids go to Catholic High in St. Edwards, if they want to say, hey, this is what the school we represent, they can put that sign in their yard, and I'm not like, oh, no, you need to take that out. It might be in the wind underneath my car next week. I just don't, that's my opinion of it. As far as picking, and as far as neutral ground goes, yeah, no, because I ran for office, and there were people who came to me and said, I want 10 signs, and then my signs were on neutral ground. I didn't put them there. They were on property. I didn't even know who owned that property. But I do feel like, as far as the picking up of your signs, you purchased them, so technically you acquired them. So I do believe you should be responsible for removing them. And I said that, you brought this up when Mayor Curry was in office. I believe a week. I have my stuff picked up within 48 hours after the election. I wouldn't have cared if I'd have won or I lost. I was raised to keep my stuff clean, and it was going to be up regardless. But I think 7, not business days, 7 calendar days, you should have your stuff picked up. And if you can't pick up your stuff in 7 days, well, then you shouldn't run for office if you can't handle that much of an extra responsibility. And that's my take on it. I doubt I'm going to change my mind, but I'm sorry. If people can voice what companies they support or what schools they support, they should be able to voice what political candidate they support. That's just my take.
I don't have something.
Everybody's gonna want to.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah, go on, yeah. I ain't gonna be long. I ain't gonna be long. Well, personally, I don't have a dog in this fight until 2020.
That's a good.
So,
I like that.
Marlowe for District 2 in 2020. I mean, if the president could start, I can start, right?
True.
But, no, I'll be all for picking them up in a certain amount of time after the, after the election is over. I would be definitely for that, picking up your own trash and holding the person who ran accountable.
Yes.
Not saying that you put it, I gave them to people and they must have put them out. Well, no, it's your job. I never looked at it as an eyesore. Man, I don't know if you know, but Youngsville pretty cluttered with signs. They ordinance aren't working very well. I don't know if you know. And another thing,
In the city.
Youngsville trying to be like us. We're not trying to be like them.
Thank you, Marlo.
We got the 32,000 going on 50. They got the 11 or 12 trying to catch up. We just an old quaint town, but we're gonna be all right. I mean, political signs. I mean, we got a lot going on. We got business signs. Me and Jimmy, with the the beautification signs, we had those going on, and I thought they were very nice. Someone put up a sign about beautifying New Iberia, and they did it in the West End. And it's a message. It's a message that you can't go to every house and say, hey, we need to beautify. We need to pick up our own community. So, I'm in the middle of the road on it. They don't bother me. They don't bother me. But again, to each his own. And you made a good point about them getting in drains, scratching people's car. I've never heard of that stuff before, but I mean, I guess everything, is possible, definitely consider drains, them, after a flood or rain thing, and they blowing and covering up the drains. I can see that. I never heard about it scratching up a car or what have you, but I could see that too.
Yeah.
So, my thing would be picking them up after the election, in a considerable amount of time, giving the people time to decompress after the election and then pick up their signs. But that'd be my only take on it.
Thank you, Mr. B. You weighing in?
I've been one of them with the most signs out there.
That's what I'm saying.
I admit it, but I can tell you what, there's never been one out more than 24 hours. Right out that night, I was picking up signs. I fill up that truck, fill up that trailer, and I worry about unloading it later, but they all got picked up. So Dan, you're on the right track. Let's at least put a time to pick them up.
Yes.
So we'll figure out if there's a lot of people that want your signs, I'm gonna put them out. Anybody wants them for 2020? I'm there. Give me a call. You want it again? Come on, let's go.
It's still in the trail.
You know, we rolling. We got them. You know, we all know where they at, and they're ready to go. So in a big way, yeah, you're all right about the time and after the thing. Yeah, let's at least get that set. Because I'm a good guy to pick them up after I finish, win, lose, or draw.
Thank you. Deidre.
The last time this came up was during the last administration, and I was running for office.
Yep.
And somebody brought it up and tried to limit the time span, like was kind of suggested tonight. It's kind of suggested, yes.
I wasn't the one that brought it up, huh?
No, it wasn't you. That person was termed out, so. But I did some research on that because I was very passionate about it because I was a new person. Nobody really knew me. I never run for office, you know, no name recognition. So you got to get yourself out there early, especially with, you know, show your face with the name and all of that. So during that time, I looked through some cases, some court cases, and really, if you limit the person's amount of time prior to the election, that's infringing on First Amendment rights. And there have been several court cases. Supreme Court has been there too. And, you know, that limit has been not upheld. So when people do that, communities do that, and somebody challenges it in court, they lose usually. You know, so I'm just letting you know that the time limit for putting them out is an issue. Now, picking them up is something different. So we can go with looking at maybe a timeline to pick them up, if it's not already in the ordinance.
It's not. Your committee can address them.
Yeah, we
I'll be
can do
bringing it
that.
to you. Thank you.
I'll make sure I'm at that meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, like Deidre said, you know, I was a newcomer, and I was a regular Tom, Dick, and Harry running for office, putting my 4x8s up. Nobody really knew me, and I think if I put my face up there, then somebody would probably ran against me. But but I agree with Dan. I mean, yeah, as far as not picking them up, that could be a real eyesore, is not picking them up, especially after the race. I believe in having them out for a certain amount of time before to get your name out there. But other than that, another question I have, so if I decided to, say, take the 4x8 political signs and make a fence with them, is that legal? Can I do that?
Ugly needs code. I guess
And
you
you
do.
always said that. So it's like you gotta have a balance, you know. But I do agree with Dan. I mean, yeah, on neutral ground, or like she said, I mean, I can give out all the signs I want, and they can go pop them anywhere they want to, and it's really not my fault. But on private property, if I go put them on private property, that should be up to the landowner, homeowner, do whatever they want to do. It's on their property. But maybe, I guess, keeping a better eye on the neutral ground signs, and that's what, you know, that's the man over there is good at. Then we can control it, I believe. But yeah, I'm all for an ordinance in place for after, to where we can get them up and get them out and move on with business after, you know, campaign is done, whether you win or you lose. So that's all I have to say on that. I mean,
All right.
I have another comment
Yes, ma'am.
about picking them up. The only problem with, say, like your presidential people and your senators and all, sometimes it's an issue of congressional, candidates too. Other people put out their signs, and then they don't go pick them up. So that person is not really going to go and pick them up. I mean, the candidate themselves is not going to go and pick those particular signs up. So normally those are the ones that are really lingering out there. You know, like, some of the people who just ran for Congress and all, you might see some of their signs still up. But that's because they gave them to somebody and that person didn't pick them up. So I think that would have to be possibly addressed, but we would have to do that ourselves because they're not going to come and pick them up themselves.
You know, talking to a couple other places that have the ordinance, they came up picking up the signs, even though you didn't have an ordinance when you could put the signs up. They all were around 14 days because some of the people, they say they like to put thank you on it
Yeah.
for a few days. And then a lot of
That
people,
makes sense.
when every parish has, if it's a national election or statewide, they have someone that represents that area. That candidate don't know where those signs are going, but they have someone that represents his thing. Some of them have to go to the city hall to see if they have a sign ordinance in that. So it's never the candidate when it's that large that takes care of it, but it's still in our community.
Okay.
You know, that I think, you know, so I would like, I appreciate what you do on all these ordinances. You know, I would like to, you know, think about you looking at in maybe a 14-day period or something, but we need to look at it, not like just say, well, we'll take it for next year, because it is something that's going to be happening, and I think we all agree that they should be picked up. And I think if there's an ordinance, there's something there, some meat to it. Other than that, I don't think we have no say in it if we don't have an ordinance to address that.
Correct. Thank you. Natalie?
I was just thinking as we're talking about this, and call me crazy,
Crazy.
but yep, it's okay. I can take it. I kind of feel like if this was such a black and white issue, the ethics board would have already laid the law down on the state and the parishes and the municipalities. They give us rules for everything else we do. We can only, get this much of, $60 worth of food paid for by someone else. I just like with what Ms. Ledbetter said. I mean, I don't know. Like, even if you say you have to have it picked up in 14 days, what if you have someone that says, I don't care if Marlon lost. I like him, and I want his sign in my yard, and this is my front yard, and this is my garden, and the sign is going to stay here. I feel like if it was that black and white, that the ethics board would have already had a law on it. And that's just me. That's just kind of where I'm coming from now that I have my brain going that way. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, that's my take on it.
It's not an ethical issue.
No, it's the First Amendment.
Yeah, but I mean,
So, Mr. Decourt,
One at a
how we
time,
gonna
one at
handle
a
that,
time.
Mr. Decourt?
One at a time, okay.
I'm waiting for your word.
Oh, yeah. Any other comments?
I just got a question to Mr.
Yes.
Dan's point about, you said those guys that are assigned to those areas to put those signs out for congressional or national or even statewide races. You're saying that they may be someone you can contact to get those people, who are responsible for putting them out. So the same accountability for that candidate that's running locally, that accountability can be held for that designee who went and put that sign out in those areas.
But
pretty
what
much,
you,
yeah.
Okay.
Hang on, one at a time, one at
It's
a
a
time.
question.
That keeps them on.
I just
Because
have
I
one
kind of
more.
heard that makes
Okay,
sense.
somebody else had their hand up?
Jeff.
You can go now.
Okay.
Well, and I
Natalie?
just have one other thing. Okay, so
Jeff has
say
his hand up.
somebody violates it, and it's a fine. It's like a criminal. It's a violation of a city ordinance. How you gonna prove that in court? That's your sign, that you own it. Like, we order signs in masses. They're not numbered. They're not bait stamped. Like, you're not gonna. I just don't think a prosecutor is gonna spend the time, energy, or have a case to say that this sign is of your possession. Or what you're gonna do? You're gonna prosecute the person whose yard it is. That's not gonna work either. I'm just saying, from a legal standpoint, my brain is just like.
Thank you.
Mayor?
Yes, Deidre, and then Jeff.
Yeah, in the research I was doing back in that time, restrictions that were upheld in court were, political signs on public property, especially utility poles.
Yeah.
You have an ordinance dealing with that, that's upheld. The size, the shape, and location of campaign signs.
Right.
Like the easement, not
Yes,
there.
yes.
The number of feet from the polling place. So those types of things have been upheld.
Mm-hmm.
Struck down, aesthetics, like you said, it's an eyesore. That doesn't weigh in court. And limiting time. So that's before and after. Limiting time
Yeah, like what you.
has been struck down.
Okay. All right, now our city attorney had his hand up.
Yeah, what Ms. Ledbetter was talking about, you can have reasonable limitations on speech as long as you don't prohibit. You know, so you can regulate size of signs, locations, things like that. But I know that in the old days when you qualified for office, they gave you information saying you can't put signs on public rights of way and utility poles. They probably still do that. And that's as far as the elections people go.
And where would what office would that information have come from? Like you say in the olden days?
From the state.
Like
When you qualify.
Secretary of State.
From the Secretary of State's office.
I bet when you go
Okay.
down to the clerk's office, you gotta sign something that says, you know, these are the rules.
Right, I'm just asking, like,
It's in the
Secretary
packet.
of State, Board of Ethics, like, what, you know, where you think that derived from, but Secretary of State,
I
okay.
mean, it's state law, and they tell you about that when you go qualify at the clerk's office. But, so we start with public rights of way. I think you could have some reasonable limitation after an election, but then how do you enforce it? I mean, the Lafayette ordinance that I think Maxine gave me a copy of has the candidate and campaign manager, whoever that is, registered, responsible. You know, they can put you in jail for 30 days for leaving a political
They are
sign
not
out too
gonna win
long.
that case. No.
I'm not gonna try.
Okay, hang on.
You have a good idea about picking them up, Dan.
I mean, we could try something, but I think we need to allow enough time for people to, you know, have a reasonable time after they won. If they want to leave their sign up for a few days just to brag or whatever, I think, you know, or say thank you, that's fine. But, you know, this is an issue for Ms. Ledbetter's committee.
Yeah. I'm just telling people what to put in.
Any further discussion? I'll just tell you, I'm running 2020. I got a warehouse full of signs, and I didn't use half of them last time. So get ready when it's time. It's not time now, but get ready. Other than that, we will. Thanks for the discussion. I do think this is something that could go to Ms. Ledbetter's committee and come back to us, and we can talk about it. There was kind of some mixed opinions of. I don't think anybody wants the time limit, except Dan before, from listening to the discussion. Dan, I thank you for bringing this because it was a fun discussion. I do think that there is some merit possibly in picking them up in a timely manner after, but that we'll have to discuss. We'll have to discuss.
I would say just ask people, please.
Yeah, we'll have to discuss. So I thank y'all for that, and we will move on to more discussion. Item 11, councilman remarks. I'll start at Natalie's end. Natalie?
Happy Valentine's Day to everyone.
That's it?
Yes, I love you all.
Oh, well, happy Valentine's Day. Marlo?
Happy Black History Month to everyone.
Hey, all right.
Oh, and it's Heart Month too.
Okay. Anything else? Is it? Great. Mr. Broussard.
Happy Valentine's. I had enough discussion tonight.
Happy Sidewalk Day. Dan.
Mardi Gras season, got the parade.
Yes.
Please go support it, Saturday night. Hope the weather's good for it.
Do too.
And Natalie made a comment about the dragon boat races. What's that date? No?
Oh, I don't have it off the top of my
Okay.
head right now.
It's in March.
March 23rd?
23rd. Yeah, it's usually
Yeah.
the last weekend. Second to last.
Okay, someone asked me, I didn't have a clue when it was. Okay, good.
Let's get through Mardi Gras.
And everybody have a happy Valentine's, like Natalie said.
Thank you, Dan. Deidre.
Well, I wanted to piggyback on what Marlon said about Black History Month. You know, we have lots of programs going on at the schools and in different places. If you have the opportunity, please try to attend some. At our next meeting, I'll announce when we're gonna have ours. So, you know, closer to the time and all. Happy Valentine's Day too. I want to tell my husband happy anniversary, which will be in a couple of days on the 7th. 38 years. Love you, babe.
Sweet. Thank you. Dustin.
Yeah, I got a couple of announcements. Comment. We had the softball Hall of Fame banquet, which was held this past Saturday. It was an awesome event, and the reason why it was awesome for me because I was able to witness my father. It's actually the first time since in the 16 years that this has been going on. My father and grandfather, who is deceased, were both inducted on the same day, so it was special for me as well. So I want to thank everybody for coming out. And the mayor, I want to thank you for supporting that, and we need to keep it going because it's special to those guys. Also, I want to send out a reminder for the Festival of Live Oaks. and the barbecue cook-off, which is coming up on Saturday, March 16th. It begins at 9 a.m. until 3 p.m. It's a lot of food, family, fun, live entertainment, Easter egg hunt, and I'm still trying to get the mayor to come cook, and we can compete against each other. Hopefully this year we'll make it out. But other than that, it's a great event, and we're gonna start preparing for it. And that's it. And happy Valentine's Day to everybody next week. So thank you.
Thank y'all very much. Good meeting. Yes,
Real quick.
sure.
My Aunt Laurie Ann Lewis was inducted to the Hall of Fame too.
Yes, she was.
I can't forget my aunt.
Yes, she was.
Yeah, so congratulations to her.
Great. Thank y'all. Been a kind of a long meeting. Our next meeting is February the 19th, and we still have a ton of adjudicated property that we would love to sell, and I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Great. Thank y'all.